The city of Southend-on-Sea is one of countless British seaside destinations which exploded in popularity during the Victorian era, when the introduction of railways allowed inland residents to flock to new and exciting holiday destinations in a matter of hours. Of course, with the increasing popularity and affordability of commercial air travel in the latter half of the 20th century, nearly all of these coastal settlements have suffered a slow and stagnant industrial decay. Southend, perhaps due to its rich history and proximity to London, has fared better than some. It boasts the longest pleasure pier in the world, a sprawling theme park and a lengthy stretch of vibrant, flashing amusement arcades. But there is darkness here, now, with destitution and poverty on those roads behind the pretty leisure, and in another time, for there have been settlers here for thousands of years, and, like any county in England, the historical footprint is so dense you could slice it with a kitchen knife, and so heavy you can feel it pressing on your chest as you walk the same paths as your ancestors. Stories of love, loss, struggle, murder, and events beyond our knowledge, now lost to the mists of time. We must surely try to preserve them. Standing stoically at the top of the High Street is the imposing 18th century facade of the Royal Hotel, which no longer hosts guests overnight. The Grade 2 listed building now serves as a bar and restaurant on the ground floor, with the ballroom above utilised for functions and a speakeasy club in the basement. There is an unusual account here of a gentleman looking into one of the hotel's large antique wall mirrors, whereupon he spotted a small group of men in tricorn hats standing behind him. As you might expect, upon turning around to get a clearer look at them, the men vanished. Tricorn hats were standard 18th century headwear for those of a high status. Lord Nelson, who visited Lady Hamilton on Royal Terrace in the early 1800s, is famously depicted adorning such headwear. As we turn the corner past the Royal Hotel, we come to Royal Terrace, one of the very oldest residential streets in Southend. Constructed at the end of the 18th century, the row of ornate houses began life as Grand Terrace. However, in 1803, Princess Caroline of Brunswick, wife of Prince Regent, took up residence in 3 of the terraced houses. Number 7 was her drawing room, 8 was her dining room, and 9 her bedchamber. This resulted in the street's name change and its more decadent, romanticised reputation in the years that followed. However, the strange supernatural tale which surrounds this archaic street is a far cry from those descriptions. In January 1976, a Mr. Raymond Lamont Brown wrote an article in the Essex Chronicle about a journal belonging to his late grandfather entitled Miss Warren's Essex Ghost Book. Just who Miss Warren was, or why she had accumulated quite so many supernatural tales, has not been investigated, but a whole chapter was dedicated to one of the houses on Royal Terrace. The house number is not specified, but what is clear is that a Mr. George Martin was staying as a guest there in the 1870s. Whilst preparing for bed, his candle flame suddenly turned blue. He heard a loud clatter and witnessed 2 eyes staring at him in the gloom, full of pain and utmost devilry. He asked the apparition, "Who is it? What do you want?" But the intruder simply vanished. The following night, the sequence of events played out in a similar manner, only this time Mr. Martin could see the phantom more clearly. A protruding forehead and dark hair, dark eyebrows, 2 yellow swollen eyelids, and cheeks of purple hue surrounded by a leprous white complexion. Upon speaking with his host, Mr. Martin was told that he wasn't the first person to have witnessed the spectre. Miss Warren, author of the journal, had supposedly discovered record of an earlier death by disease in the haunted bedroom, although the terrible affliction, at least at that time, was unknown to science. Continuing along Royal Terrace, we come to a rather weathered red brick building. This is Clifton Terrace, at the corner of Royal Mews. There is a record of a couple living here who had several unusual experiences between November 1966 and March of 1967. One night, they were visited by a grey, luminous shape at the end of their bed, which, upon disappearing, left the room icy cold. Several months later, a hooded grey apparition, possibly the same entity again, appeared in the bedroom near dawn. This time, some of its facial features were visible, and when it vanished, the ghost left an unpleasant, musty odour behind. The cloud description of this figure is reminiscent of a monk, although the nearest priory at Prittlewell is located several miles away. The couple called in a priest to exorcise the room, but, according to records, never felt settled again and moved out soon afterwards. Leaving Royal Terrace and making our way down Royal Mews, we come first to a red brick cottage on the left, now a dentist's office, and to the right, a row of short terraced cottages. It is unclear which of these dwellings is the one Tonio Perrott moved into in 1988, but whichever it was, the building needed a substantial renovation. Tonio hired an architect to assist him, who immediately began work on removing an internal wall. After breaking through the thick barrier, an old wagon wheel was revealed, and, leaning against it, a human skeleton, still draped in remnants of clothing, including an ancient cloth cap. Forensics were called in, but the identity of the body was never determined. However, since the unsettling discovery, the apparition of an elderly man has haunted the building, holding a walking stick out in front of him. Perhaps the knocking down of that old brick wall disturbed his eternal slumber. There is another unusual phenomenon which occurs on Royal Mews, out on the forecourt in front of Tonio's home. Every Christmas Eve, just before midnight, Tonio and his friends gather to hear the sound of horse hooves clip-clopping over cobbles and a coachman calling out to the horse. Several smells, including horse and sweat, are also witnessed by the group. It is interesting that the event only occurs at this time, that it is witnessed by a group of people, and that more than one sense is involved. No historical origin for this annual event has been suggested, but Tonio himself has theorized that the combined energy and anticipation of the group of people result in its continued appearance, perhaps willing the coach into existence. You would expect, given its iconic status as a central landmark in Southend, that the pier itself would hold some unusual accounts from times past. It does, although they are rather more fleeting and mysterious than the other locations we have covered in this video. One evening, in late autumn of 1992, a policeman spotted a man in a long coat trespassing on the pier after dark. After a lengthy pursuit right to the end of the boardwalk, the mysterious man vanished. The policeman was left scratching his head, as there was nowhere for the man to escape to, other than the icy, stagnant depths of the Thames estuary. There are also several first-hand accounts of apparitions underneath the pier, walking between the rusty, algae-covered support beams. A flight of steps used to lead from the road level up to the pier's entrance. When this area was undergoing renovations in 2004, there were several reports of a ghostly woman in black climbing these stairs, sending workmen running in terror. Without walking more than 500 meters, Southend has revealed an abundance of chilling tales which connect the present day to several centuries in the past. Just by retelling one of these tales, a small piece of social history lives on, reminding us of past lives from beginning to end, the content of which we can now only speculate on. It's incredible to me that there are so many paranormal accounts just on one road. It really makes you wonder what all these people actually experienced. Sure, there are an abundance of rational explanations solidified by science. Hallucinations, pareidolia, infrasound, stress. But problems with these theories begin to arise when multiple people witness the same phenomenon at the same time, see it repeatedly in the same or different locations, or even experience phenomenon without prior knowledge that others have had identical sightings. I propose that the answer lies somewhere in the fundamental building blocks of our universe, in theoretical physics, and something we cannot yet comprehend about time. Well, only time will unravel these mysteries. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.